Yes, my name is Dennis Carroll, senior, and back in 1952 I had polio. I was paralyzed from my neck down. When I went on the porch, I dropped down, and Mama called, and she said, "Quit playing around." She said, "Get up." I said, "I can't get up, and I can't hardly breathe." She got mad at me. She said, "I told you, and I'm not going to tell you again." Mama, that was Mama. "Now you get up and get yourself in." Then she realized, as she grabbed me, my fever went up, straight up, and I was paralyzed. She put me on the couch. Back in those days, the greatest remedy was chicken soup. "I'm going to get you some chicken soup and you're going to be fine." Well, I wasn't. I got worse. She called the doctor. The doctor said, "I am not coming out. I already know what it is." They sent me to Fort Wayne Hospital. There were no rooms left. They put us in a big room, an isolation, where there were army cots were put out there was about 80 children, and 30 of them were passing away, and I was laying on that cot. And while I was laying on that cot and others were passing away, and I heard the mommies and daddies that were crying, and they were weeping, and they were wailing. I'm laying there thinking, when is my time going to be? They went and they seen the sign tacked up, "Quarantine, do not enter." And my daddy said, "This house is a house of death. You cannot come in our house. We have a polio victim, our son." We had to announce it. My own family, my aunts and my uncles, and that, bless their heart. I know they loved me with all their heart. But I had an epidemic of polio, and they were afraid that they were going to catch it. So they left us alone. The Rotary, they said, "You know what we're going to do?" My daddy said, "What?" And he was crying. "What?" My daddy couldn't go to work for 3 months. He couldn't earn no living. All of a sudden we heard a saw, and they were sawing the bottom of our door, and they were putting groceries inside. Groceries inside. They didn't do this just one day. This was not a one-day thing. This was an everyday occurrence. When I was laying on that cot, they wrapped me up with wool hot blankets. Oh, did it stink. 3 times that one day, they wrapped me up from my neck down, steaming hot wool blankets. And the doctor came in and said, "Take it off of him. Take it off of him. We've got to take him somewhere else. He's not going to make it. That's not going to do no good. His lungs are failing him." My lungs were failing me, and they put me in an iron lung. They transported me in an ambulance from Fort Wayne to South Bend, Indiana. And my daddy asked, crying, "Who's paying the bill?" The Rotary said, "Don't worry about it. It's taken care of." From the time that you was diagnosed, the Rotary arrived almost immediately when they took me out of the house. When I was in the iron lung, all I heard was children dying. I was in a death room. The thing that I remember the most, and that haunts me to this day, is the mommies and daddies, that their hearts were broken so bad. They were hyperventilating. They were falling to the floor. They were wailing. They were holding their child. This foam was coming out of their mouth because they could not hold the saliva because their heart was so broken. They tried to breathe and couldn't breathe. And I remember them just crying out, just yelling out to God, why? And then I heard the little children gasping, Mama, Mommy, Mommy, Mommy. And that was it, one by one, by one, by one. They would take me out of the iron lung every now and then, and they would help me, and are you feeling okay? And I gotta get back in. They would put me back in the iron lung, and you was like this, and there was a mirror over you. And all of a sudden, I couldn't catch my breath, and all of the compressor started. Kapoosh, kapoosh, kapoosh. And my chest would fly up and fly up. And it was getting my muscles that were gone, my lung muscles up. And it was putting oxygen into. And when you have 30 iron lungs in a row going kapoosh, it was so loud. But I want to tell you something. Very few people came to visit me. The Rotary followed up. They kept following me up. From the time that I was diagnosed until I entered into that iron lung, they came and visit me every day. They said, you know, Mr. Carroll, your son doesn't have to go to an institution. No? Where can we send him? Well, we know a place in South Bend, Indiana. It's called Camp Millhouse for crippled children. A Camp Millhouse. What we want to do is, even though that he's partly in that iron lung, we want to set that iron lung up at Camp Millhouse, and we want to take him out of the environment of the pool of death. Because I was nothing but laying there. And I was failing. My lungs were failing. And I wanted to die. But the Rotary says, we know how to get him in. My dad said, we can't afford it. We can't do it. The Rotary told my dad, says, listen, Mr. Carroll, don't you worry. You keep your mind on your child and your heart on your child. We'll take care of the rest. They sent me to Camp Millhouse, and they paid for it. And they said he's going to die, and he needs to be in an environment around children who are in wheelchairs and who have cancer and who are crippled, and they're enjoying themselves in the pool. We want him to see that. And all of a sudden, when I'm looking and where am I at? I'm at Camp Millhouse in South Bend, Indiana. And there's the children, they're all playing. I said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to play with them one of these days. I'm getting out of here, and I'm going to play. The Rotary Club has given to me my strength, has given to me by outreaching, paying for what my daddy and mommy could not pay for, being with me from the beginning. I cannot thank the Rotary enough. My daddy said to me, he said, if it wasn't for them, we don't know where you would not have made it. I am healed because of the Rotary Club that was willing to reach out to my mommy and daddy and direct them to Camp Millhouse, direct them to the iron lung, direct them to the doctors, direct them. My daddy didn't know how he was going to pay for all of that. It's not about me. It's about those survivors and those that have polio right today that are still living with the effects of polio. For us, it hasn't faded away. It's still here. The Rotary Club has been so loving, inspiring to me.